Alright, welcome back my friends. It's been a while since I've done a video, but we're going to be doing a look at Permaculture Fire today. Might seem a little contradictory to anyone who knows what permaculture is. Usually it's looking towards what you can do in the plant or landscape realm to just maximize your yield. A central concept of that is stacking functions. So it might seem a little out of place when we're talking about fire, but let me explain. So most people, they'll have a fire just to get rid of yard waste, which would just be one function, one yield out of that. You're just getting rid of debris, getting rid of waste. We have a lot over that way. Some multiflora rose that was spreading, some bittersweet that was everywhere, some sumac that's over there. So a second yield out of this is we're also clearing up a lot of space. The sumac that was just suckering out and spreading all throughout there. We're going to replace that with wild plum that will also sucker out and spread everywhere, but at least it'll be beautiful with flowers in the spring and fruit in the summer. But anyway, going back to our fire, through the permaculture lens, we're going to be stacking functions, which is one of the primary tenets of permaculture. So some of the other yields we can get out of this are charcoal once we've burned the material down. We're also going to be using this. I've shaped it in a big garden bed shape because we're going to burn out the vegetation. So instead of tilling and really disrupting the soil and allowing weeds to grow back, we're going to burn it down, and that'll get rid of the vegetation for us, make a nice garden bed area, and that'll also add some nutrients in it. We're going to take some of the charcoal, use it elsewhere, but leave some of the charcoal and wood ash here, and that'll really enrich this bed for years to come. So it's a lot more than just burning it because we have to get it out of here. We're going to be creating a new garden space. We're going to be fertilizing the garden space. We're going to be getting rid of the weeds long term. We're going to be making charcoal for long-term fertility both here and elsewhere. And we're opening up a lot of other growing room for where this debris came from. So a simple fire can actually have a lot of function in it. So let's get going. Should get going pretty good. We had a rain come through here prior, so everything's a little wet and there's no wind to speak of, so there's not as much air to fuel the fire. But as you can hear, those bittersweet nests, I take all the bittersweet vines, fold them in on each other so it's a big ball. It's an amazing way to start the fire. It gets it going so quick. Now let's just sit back, watch it go, and keep feeding it. As always, have your hose handy, on and ready to go, just in case things get out of hand, but a well-placed fire should maintain itself in a nice way. Alright, so burned most of our debris. The spot should be nice and burned out. I swept some of the hot coals into some of the corners of the bed that might not have gotten burned as much. So I'll let those burn the grass down a bit more. But I'm actually going to quench it now because we're making charcoal. If we let this burn down, if we just didn't hose it down, it would turn to ash, which is really nice, but you lose a lot of carbon that way, valuable carbon that you can put back into your landscape. So we're going to quench it when it still has those, nice sized charcoals. And once those cool, it'll be pure carbon. We can charge them up with fertilizer and use them in the landscape. Alright, so just finishing quenching the fire to get some charcoal, and we have a nice formed garden bed. Now you can do this, I've done this in a big circle for a tree. You do a couple of these or however long you want. Wherever you put the fuel, the fire will go. So shape it to your advantage, use it. That last part I just quenched, but this will be nice and burned out, ready to plant pretty soon. Some nice charcoal. So we have some beautiful carbon. Like I was saying earlier, if you just walked away, that would be all right. And you got some ash out of it, that can make a decent fertilizer. This is far more valuable. Just charcoal, all that's left is the pure carbon of the wood. You can even see, I don't know if you can see in this, but you can actually still see the growth rings. So it looks like it's still just a piece of wood, but crumbles. Pure crystalline carbon. I made a video about this a while back of how to charge your biochar, so this is kind of how to make it. And then once that's just pretty much a sponge. It's looking for nutrients and water. And once it's loaded with nutrients and it can hold water, it'll keep it there in the soil for thousands and thousands of years. It's pretty incredible. So we're gonna have a good harvest of that for our gardens, for this spot. Now we have more room to grow, both here and where this material came from. No weeds to fight on this bed. So try to get some yields out of your fires instead of it just being one single pit. What can you do to make it as productive as possible in your homestead?